Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to War Stories on the Veteran Talk Show. My name, of course, is Ryan Smeltz, and today we're going to be talking about the meal break. So, number one, leading up to the end of basic training, we had the night fire and the values tags. There's so much more in the middle there, like the confidence course or the obstacle course. I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, it was pretty fun because we had to do team building exercises and do things like climb Jacob's ladder, which is a very tall, crooked, uh, awkwardly large ladder that you had to go up one side and down the other. Very independent standing structure. Climb across ropes, rappel down one side of a tower. And for me, it was fun. I had done things like that with Boy Scouts before I enlisted. For some people, it was challenging because maybe they were afraid of heights or they couldn't quite figure out how to create the L shape when going backwards down the rappel tower. But for me, it was fun. You definitely saw some people's true colors when it came to working together as a team. We might have to figure stuff out. Maybe there was one person who really didn't want to work with other people, but we all got through it. And then the night fire was basically we went out to the rifle range, we qualified, and then we had to shoot with our pro mask on during the day and then at night. And then at the end, we had to basically low crawl across a field while they were firing over top our heads. And if whether or not the bullets were real, I don't know. Some people say they were, some people say they were blanks. I have never been involved in that from an instructor standpoint, so I think that would be a good person to ask. But I do know that a girl stood up while we were low crawling, and a drill sergeant came out of nowhere and tackled the crap out of her. So if they weren't real bullets, then they were definitely trying to instill the fact that if you're getting shot at and you stand up, you might get hit. So they tackled her. Um, it was a pretty long low crawl, but once we got done with that, we all gathered around, and when it was complete, we had a ceremony where they gave us all our values tags. So this is similar to what the Marines call the Crucible. Once we finished that, basically that was the very last event of basic training. So then we had a little graduation ceremony where we had to, you know, I believe at that point we wore our Class A's. We had a little practice for the graduation ceremony, and then we had the basic training graduation ceremony. This was not the ceremony where the family and friends were at because it was only very short. And the day before, we had our meal, the meal break, as I call it. And the reason I call it that is because we basically graduated basic training. Then we had a meal, and this was where the drill sergeants actually got their food and sat down with us. So normally the drill sergeants were at their own table, and this time they sat down with the trainees, and instead of the 2 minutes we normally got to eat, they let us eat until we were finished and at a normal pace, if you will, which I feel like at that point it probably took us each, 5 minutes to finish our food. And we actually got to talk while we were sitting there eating. So we got to ask the drill sergeants questions and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. But then we went the very next day straight into AIT, so advanced individual training. So the biggest difference between basic training the one day and advanced individual training the next day is that in basic training, we pretty much had all three platoon drill sergeants with us at all times. And once we got into AIT, we usually just saw one drill sergeant with us at all times, and those kind of rotated out. So each week or each day, it might be a different drill sergeant, and I have no idea what the other drill sergeants were up to while we were there. I assume taking care of administrative stuff or possibly handling some schools or taking leave. I have no idea, but kind of went from the three babysitters down to one during AIT. It got a little bit more relaxed. So next, we're going to be talking more about advanced individual training. Once again, I hope that you find these segments of war stories entertaining, to say the least. It will definitely get more interesting as I'm going to be talking about getting to my first duty station, my deployment. I'm going to talk to you about when I went to Germany and what those 2 years were like. So if you want to hear about that, if you are a part of it, be sure to stick around. My name, of course, is Ryan Smeltz. Please leave us a 5-star review, as it helps get the podcast out there and lets the platforms know that you want to hear this type of content. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Most importantly, tell your friends to subscribe as well. And I will see you on tomorrow's episode of War Stories.